Well, hello and welcome everybody to yet another edition of the Inworld Review, part of the Metaverse Week in Review. And actually, we're not running too late. It's only just gone the half hour, but we were planning to be here earlier, but we had some sort of technical difficulties with Voice Inworld, so we sort of delayed it and showed you some of the standby clips, the art sort of section of clips that you would be otherwise seeing later. So we hope those entertained you while you were waiting for us living, breathing avatars to join you. Anyway, I'm Mal Burns as usual, and joined by my colleague Tari Yates as usual, and we have some guests as usual, and I'll be getting to them shortly. First of all, I'm just going to give you my roundup on the affairs in the greater metaverse, and there isn't a great deal this week. An interesting article did appear announcing that Disney Research Project is working on turning static photos into 3D worlds. Don't really know much more about this at the moment, but it's not so much the technology here that's significant, it's the fact that Disney are somehow working on the idea of 3D worlds. What else did we have? We had something quite important on here. Oh yes, out on the open simulator world, there is a sim hosting called Avi Worlds, AVI Worlds, and the announcement from Hypergrid Business, no less, is Avi Worlds down. Vendor offers migration. So if you're a client of Avi Worlds, it seems that your service provider is not going to be around much longer, and they're arranging for migration to other services for you, which at least is the decent thing to do rather than just disappear. By far, the biggest event this week, really to do with OpenSim as much as Second Life and elsewhere, has been the Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference. Now, I say we, that's our company, have been filming that for 4 days. Subsequently, we were rather behind getting this show together, as you can imagine. Very interesting stuff. We managed to film one session from Jacadia, which is of course an OpenSim grid. We filmed one session from Cloud Party, which of course isn't an OpenSim, but it is still a different sort of grid. It runs via the web and looks sort of like an early Second Life, though it doesn't behave like it when you want to film it, I can assure you. And also in Second Life itself, a huge last year of the big steampunk auditorium that they have there over it's VWP Sims in conjunction with Rockcliffe anyway, which is nearby, and opening keynote by Gentle Heron of Virtual Ability, which was excellent, and really too many excellent presentations to go into. We'll probably talk a little about some of them as we go along, so the ones we enjoyed doing most, so to speak. But as I said, that's highlight of the week. But amidst this, it did start on Wednesday. Linden Labs suddenly popped up, wonder why, and on the same day the education conference opened, announced that they were restoring a 50% discount for educators and non-profits. In fact, you obviously have to meet certain registration criteria to qualify, but if you do qualify, you can now get a 50% discount on just about everything Linden Lab offer, hosting and rentals and however they figure it all. Mixed feelings about this, of course. I was privy to a couple of panels where this came into discussion. Some people were in Second Life and said, I'm quite happy here and I like it, it's the big public place. Other people were saying, well, I've been OpenSim for 2 years and we've been growing, and hell, we're not going back to the Linden Labs, we just don't trust them. And then sort of, in the middle, there are people saying, oh, well, that new price is quite tempting, but they're not so much talking about moving back, but they're talking about a slightly renewed interest in possible uses for the platform, largely on the basis, of course, that it has a very huge population. And, if you want access to the general public to, put your shop front or your exhibitions and things like that, it's the perfect place to be. It's lesser suited these days to back offices or research labs or anything like that isn't sort of window facing on High Street. Those kind of things tend to now be in OpenSim, but I suspect there'll be a sort of compromise. And if our friends at Linden Labs actually keep their word, a slow trickle back of various educational projects into Second Life. Anyway, I'm sure we'll come to all that later. With that, I'm going to hand the mic over to my colleague Saffia Yates, who's sitting right here beside me for her summary. I was about to say wind up of the week. I mean roundup, roundup of the week. Tara.
Wind up, yeah. Wind up, yes. Well, greetings everyone from the Pacific Northwest. Happy to be here. I actually the schedule for the Virtual World's Best Practices in Education Conference was such that I was out of the loop as far as participating, because the broadcasting was all being done during when I'm otherwise gainfully employed. But I certainly was well aware of it going on, and of course the news item from the lab as far as the return of the 50% discount for education and nonprofits was. I was glad to see that. What effect it has in the long run is anybody's guess, I think. But and there's opinions weighing in on all sides of the issue. But I think it's definitely was a smart move on the lab's part. In any case, a couple things that caught my attention. If you follow back to the wiki discussion, the things I think that are particularly noteworthy is that comment that Linden Lab appreciates that educational and nonprofit organizations' budget cycles may be different from other customers, and we are happy to work with participating organizations to arrange for invoicing within those parameters, which was an interesting statement to me. That wasn't in the blog post. That was back in the wiki if you followed the links. So, that acknowledging the fact that there are budget cycles that don't even remotely match up with how profit motive businesses tend to budget was I think was significant to me. That recognition of saying, yeah, hey, we know you guys are budgeting, 6 months to a year to 2 years out, and not three months out to the next quarter. So we'll work with you on that. So that was good to see. It was kind of fun reading through the comments in Hamlet's blog after his own. He was a tad snarky, which doesn't come as any great surprise. And he basically his comment was, well, where educators have gone is Minecraft, and he says no, not OpenSim, which has usage so small it constitutes a rounding error, and completely ignoring the fact that because OpenSim is software that can be installed completely independent of any grid, there is no way to know how widespread the use of OpenSim is for education, where it's installed on a on a server for a school district and used widely within that school district, but anything but public facing. So it's kind of silly comment on his part. I'm sorry, Hamlet. You lost on that one. He says one of Second Life needs a lot more fixes to be appealing to educational groups. Or actually, he says Second Life's good for film and architecture educators, but Second Life needs a lot more fixes to be appealing to them. Whether that's true or not is probably subject to debate. And he then says, alternatively, full Oculus Rift integration could appeal to educators. And I think he's betting on a very long shot there. Anyway, but then we go on. There were a couple of people whose comments I thought were kind of interesting. First, there was a quote from a conversation somebody else had with Amy Weber, who basically says that all of her work now is in OpenSim, and or in some cases Unity, she said she's heard the discussion about the discount from select EDUs, but there was no interest, and it's not price, it's trust and stability. So I think that's the biggie on this is, that long-term stability issue and question, and, are they going to turn around and change things a year from now again? And so she says for Second Life devs, she says it's pretty ugly out there, and she said she hadn't had a single Second Life inquiry in ages, but then there was a comeback from somebody else who does development, who commented. They rarely comment. Who said that she works doing SL dev exclusively for education clients, has never worked on never been asked to work on OpenSim, would if she was asked, and she said she has also never been busier nor had more future work already contracted or in negotiation than she does now. So here's somebody completely on the opposite end of the spectrum for seeing, interest and support from education for Second Life activity and builds and that sort of thing. And goes on to make the point of a lot of education projects using Second Life prefer to be cautious and to keep a low profile outside their own student users, not the least because the real world media was so sensationalist in the past, and they don't want anything to frighten off the purse string holders or their colleagues. And notes that these old newspaper stories are still the only thing most people know about Second Life. So when we talk about virtual worlds, virtual education, and avoid mentioning the platform by name. So that was interesting too. That's come up recently in some of Rod Humble's interviews of him taking to task that misperception of the sensationalist flying penises and X-rated Sims and activity in Second Life, and completely losing track of the fact that Google is not a sex search engine. Second Life is not a sex virtual world any more than Google is a sex search engine. So it's just one of those stupidities that the media has jumped on and then walked away from. So anyway, enough on that. In the world of the geeky eat your vegetables, the update on various Linden Lab projects this week. The server-side appearance is now live on the La Tigra and Magnum release candidate Sims. So if you drop in there and you're using a server-side appearance compatible browser, you should see quick appearance rendering. The one change that was kind of interesting was they increased the speed with which stuff comes down now. That was a change that happened in last week's viewers. At the third-party developer meeting this week, Nick Linden commented the system is working pretty much as we expected, and even the scaling of how much load is being generated is pretty much right on par with what they were expecting. But they want to make sure that a few other things are returning the right things and we're getting the right statistics that we want before we roll it out to the entire grid. They're trying to be extra cautious, and I think this is a good thing because it's a pretty big change. On the good news front on all of this, it looks like somewhere in the vicinity of 80% of all viewers currently actively in use for Second Life or second server-side appearance compatible. So there's been a very good uptake on making the transition to compatible viewers. You look at the charts and the number, it's looking very good. So there's not the actual figure may be a bit higher than the chart that I saw that NRPay had. Anyhow, some other items from elsewhere. Yeah, interesting item from the news from the UK. School pupils, and this is education related, so it kind of ties in with this week's theme, in England are set to get a boost to their digital skills following proposed reforms to the education curriculum starting September 2014, in other words, a year from now. The proposed curriculum reveals that more of a focus on technology-related skills will be among the priorities for primary and secondary school children. For example, primary school children from the age of 5 will no longer be taught word processing skills, but instead will be allowed to design and test computer programs they have written themselves. Kids of this age will also be taught internet safety, how to spot danger online, and how to keep personal details private in computing lessons. Secondary level pupils will continue their learning, adding a variety of different programming languages, as well as learning about network computer systems, the relationship between hardware and software. And design and technology syllabus also have been overhauled with the primary kids design, build, plan, and evaluate a product from having an idea all the way through to a finished item. Older kids over 7 will be able to incorporate mechanical and electrical systems such as bulbs and motors into their design. And secondary school-age children will also be getting lessons including the use of 3D printers, laser cutters, and robotics. In their pursuit of subjects such as mathematical modeling and biomimicry. How's that for just wild stuff? So, parents, you're going to have to get up to speed to help with homework coming up with that level of stuff. I thought that was really interesting. This apparently applies only to schools under local authority control, and whereas free schools and academic academies have the option to simply opt out. And this only applies to schools in England, not to Scotland, Northern Ireland, and Wales. Let's see, completely outside the world of virtual worlds, but apropos social media. The U.S., there's been a fairly loud amount of press in recent months of some really horrendous state-level legislative action on a variety of issues, including women's health. But in the good news front, in my own home state of Washington, the state lawmakers passed legislation which went into effect this weekend, barring employers from demanding passwords for social media sites such as Facebook at the workplace and during job interviews. Also stops employers from making workers friend managers so that their profile is viewable. Great move. Hopefully that'll get picked up in lots of places. There have been some pretty ugly things that have surfaced as a result of employers demanding access to people's Facebook pages. Elsewhere, Inworld is started their 2013 Relay for Life season. Actually commences in late August and runs through until the start of November, culminating in their actual relay event itself on November 3rd. Their theme this year is Many Worlds for a Cure. The season opens August. Patooey. Saturday, August 24th at Paradise by Design halfway event is taking place on September 28th, and the relay itself on November 2nd. Sponsorships for the season are currently open. Their first Relay for Life season was last year. That was fully sanctioned by the American Cancer Society. It raised $15,000, so it'll be interesting to see how they do this year. One last item, yes. I think this was from Daniel. Number of private, speaking of Sims, the number of private estates in Second Life has apparently dropped below the 20,000 mark for the first time since June of 2008, according to Tish Shepard on the SL Universe forums. But the other interesting piece of this was the net loss of private estate regions this year compared to last year, 4.7 this year. Last year in the same time period, the loss was about 11.3. That was the loss for last year. So the rate of bleed is definitely decreased, which I thought was interesting. So, I think that's it, and I babbled quite long enough. Back to you, Mel.
Well, thank you, Tara. You beat me on the RFL in Inworld. In fact, I was going to lead up to that. It's hard to believe there's 2 whole weeks since the Relay for Life weekend in Second Life, and of course our involvement in the Grand Telethon that was part of that event. And I know, in fact, when we were putting together cameras for Relay for Life, I spoke to one of our cameras who'd been with us previously, and she couldn't make it, but she was saying that she'll be doing the Inworlds one. So hopefully there'll be some broadcast kind of footage or video record of the Relay for Life event over in Inworld shortly. More power to Relay, of course. And yes, there was another thing. I was going to lead into that. Okay, well, yeah, we've covered that one then. So it's about time to rope in the guests I've got in the studio. First off, we're joined once again by Petlove Petshop. Hi, Pet. Now, Pet and I are actually have been hanging together for something like 5 days now because we have been working on the filming of the Virtual World's best practices and stuff, and I think we'll come back in a while to maybe just talk between ourselves about the highlights of that, and then let the others come into the conversation, because there were lots of issues and wonderful highlights there. We're also joined once again by Saffia Widdershins. Hi, Saffia.
Hello, Mal. Good to be back.
Good to have you back too. You finally recovered. Yes, last time we saw you would have been a telethon, or the week before the telethon. It's been a busy season, hasn't it?
It has indeed. There's been an awful lot going on. What with the birthday followed by the telethon. Things are just starting to calm down a bit now.
Yeah, we hope.
We hope.
You know what it's like. Somebody's going to pop up next week and say, well, in 2 days there's going to be and then go wonders in there quick. But no, it's it has calmed down a little bit. And finally, I'm also joined again by regular Will Burns. Hi, Will.
Hey, howdy. What's going on, Mel?
Well, I am trying to be less of a sophisticated pimp. And you
can't shake it. Just embrace it, boss. Embrace it.
Especially
with a pair of leather pants like that, you just have to embrace it, boss.
Yeah, I was told that I needed to change the costume this week, and of course I was sort of talked into it about 5 minutes before we went live, and so you've got one of my other costumes. There is always a bit of purple in my costume.
We're going to take you out shopping. That's what's going to happen.
I don't wear the purple suit anymore. Well, I do now and again, but...
Anyway. Oh, yes, that purple suit.
Yeah. Well, it lasted for a long while. Suit, yes. That was... Oh, yes. It lasted for a long while, and it's there in the archive should I need it as a sort of thing. Anyway, yes, so welcome, resident critic of me, Will Burns.
Critiquing, man. I'm actually giving you a compliment.
I know you are. I'm still the top 5 persons that Will wants to have lunch with. So there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sophisticated pimp or not, he's still prepared to be seen with me.
Oh, well, I'll be seen with you because you're a sophisticated pimp by figuring all the women around you, rub off or something.
Yeah, that's true. I'll have to get you off the show and get more women on, won't I? I don't want men on this show. I want to be in the middle of a... Anyway, let's get serious again. I think I'm going to start by hopping over to Saffia, because I know we've got lots of sort of news about Inworld things and various stuff. So why don't you sort of bring us up to date on your multiple departments, Saffia?
Well, yeah, sure. But I thought I'd actually start off by picking up on a couple of things Tara was talking about, because there have been some really interesting news stories in the UK this week. One of them came out today, and it has to do with technology in schools. The Guardian newspaper was covering the story of parents who are being asked to buy iPads for their children, or rather not being asked to buy the iPads, more being told that their children had to have tablet computers for their lessons. Now that is really pushing it, because they're not cheap, and it does create something of a digital divide between parents who can afford iPads and parents who can't.
Yeah, I haven't read this one actually.
Front page of the Observer.
It's significant that the iPad has become the ubiquitous pad. I mean, Androids are taking off, but it is the iPad thing. But that is low-income families do not have anything resembling the amount of cash that they need.
Right.
They will need.
Well, they gave an example. They gave an example which was pretty appalling, of a single mum who's kind of on a low income, who has 2 children at school, and they say she can buy the iPads through the school by part instalments of £12 a week.
Oh.
But
really?
No, £12 a month. Let's be. Or a figure around that. But anyway, for her to buy them for her children, she must have had 3 children, because it was going to cost her £45 a month of a very slender income to pay for this technology. And that really, because each of the kids had to have their own tablet.
Whatever happened to the days where, when I was a kid, I remember they had the laptops, but they wouldn't rent them. They would loan them out to the kids to take home, and you have to sign them out. And the parents would be responsible for whatever damages or whatever. But that's how they used to do it back then, where you sign them out. Why aren't they doing that now with the iPads? Like, they just have numbers on the back of it, and then say the kids can sign them out and say log into their account and do their work. But making the parents buy it is asinine.
I think it's awful. It's different educational authorities. Some educational authorities are buying the tablets and doing something like that, but they're finding that there's actually a high damage rate. Give me just a sec and I'll find the story again.
Yeah, there's a high damage rate because they're kids and they're high-tech toys that they shouldn't have. So put them in hardened cases. Get the hardened cases so that they're toughened up. Don't give them to them unprotected. I wouldn't give middle school kids an iPad. Hell no. I'd be hard pressed if I ever have kids. I'll be hard pressed to let them have a cell phone at this point. No, it's too high tech for you. You get to play with blocks like I did. Get on with it. Here's a Nintendo.
Slate and pencil.
What do you mean? Here's an abacus.
Yeah, here's an abacus. High tech, my butt.
And a slide rule. Yes, an abacus and a slide rule. There we go.
Calculators. God.
So, and I just think this, I'm getting back to the point though, it is horrendous. I mean, one of the big things invented in the UK, in fact, that has taken off with schools is a little device. I've got one here called the Raspberry Pi. Now, this thing is the size of a cigarette box, or it doesn't include a monitor, but it's got very high graphics and everything. And, I don't know, it costs about £50, something in that region. And you can buy things to do it. You can build your own robot with it and things like that. And it would make more sense to me that if kids are being encouraged to buy something, they should buy something like that, because they can learn to configure it themselves. They can learn with it. Instead of just a passive experience of an iPad, which is, given the way the government over here in the UK is, they've got accelerated censorship operation going on. I mean, they say it's just blocking porn on the web, but they're forcing it on ISPs, and it's going to put Britain back, because it's going to the censorship that they'll impose on the web will actually, although in some ways can be justified, it's actually the off run, as it were, of it is actually going to prevent us getting decent access. And they're saying buy an iPad for your kid. I mean, forgetting the economic argument of being able to buy an iPad. I mean, one increasingly wonders just how useful these things are going to be if you only only communicate meaningfully within the UK itself, and the site censorship. So, but the economic argument you mentioned, Saffia, is the real thing there. It's not just the digital divide. This is a ploy that reinforces and accelerates the digital divide. And there seems to be just a successive campaign by the government over here to make that digital divide real and exclude certain sectors of the population. So I haven't a clue what they're doing. It's not even in their own interests from the right-wing point of view. But
they seldom understand that when they implement these things.
If I can quote from the article, this was the one, because it's not mandatory for schools to do it this way. Other schools have tried other ways. So providing tablets is not an unquestioned money saver for schools, because one of the arguments for having it is that, of course, you can get the books as apps. You can download the books and you save money that way, but it's not an unquestioned money saver. Honeywood Community Science School in Essex gave all its 1,200 pupils a tablet computer for free, although it did ask for a £50 contribution towards insurance. Sounds fair enough.
They all came back broken.
Well, the cost was estimated at around 500,000 to supply all those computers, but 489 of the 1,200 tablets had to be replaced after a year, while 4 out of 10 needed to be sent for repairs.
Oh, good grief!
Because they're going through a lot of use and abuse in a school. School system like that. They go through higher usage. They might. Do they give them out individually to kids, or were they passed around and shared?
No, I think they were given individually. All the pupils got one.
Right. So you got to harden them with a case or something. I mean, that's something that I don't think they're doing. They're just handing it off to them with a sticker on the back saying "Have at it." They really need to have like those industrial strength cases to encase it with to keep it safe, because with the transport and the backpacks and stuff like that, it's going through a lot more wear and tear than normal usage would be.
I must say, Apple's the iPads are very secure in the sense that they can't easily be. Well, they can be nicked, but they could be found almost instantaneously. But the new models they're bringing out, they get lighter and lighter, and for sensible people, they're more practical. But the quality standard in terms of breakage and stuff seems to be slipping a bit. And I suspect a school like that would have bought them in bulk and got a heavy discount and maybe been, given substandard models or something. So that's not a good sign, is it?
Well, I've always said that iPads were kind of substandard to me, and people always used to yell at me about that. But to prove my point, I walked into a Best Buy, and they had them on display, and the guy was like, really nice guy, great sales guy and everything. He was, telling me all about it. And I said, so this thing is, card hardened and it's, it's secure and everything. He's like, oh, yeah, it's great. He's like, here, check it out. I'm like, all right. I tapped one icon on it, ran one program that was native on the actual app, and I crashed it right then and there in front of him and handed it back to him and said, there you go. He went, and I'm like, it's crashed. Yeah. I'm like, it's an Apple. It's not supposed to crash. He's like, I'm like, remember the whole motto, it just works? He's like, yeah. He's like, it don't work here. He's like, the thing is like, I can reboot it and everything else, but the thing is, I couldn't reboot it or anything. I said, I don't buy into the Kool-Aid aspect of it. I look at it as just a computing device. So it will last as long as any other computing device. There's nothing magical about it. It's just good branding. I'm actually neutral.
Yeah.
Can I just say, we don't know that the tablets in the article that were referred to are actually iPads. I think they're quite likely to be Androids.
Yeah, the Androids got to be cheaper, but even then, they're going to be beat up pretty bad. No matter what, I look at them like, I don't necessarily hate iPad, and I don't necessarily like Android. I'm down the middle of it. I just treat them as computing devices, and whichever gets the job done, that's all I care about. I don't care who makes it.
There is one thing I'm conscious of with Android is the first pad I ever bought was an Android, and it was actually a good audio brand name, oddly enough. But it was impossible. It wasn't sensitive enough to press. I never got used to it. It now functions as my alarm clock. It it was unusable. And you do well, this is it. Apple devices always update to the latest OS, but with a few exceptions. Whereas you go to pick up these Android pads by different manufacturers. It's a bit like buying a PC. I mean, they've all got a version of Windows on them, but you don't quite know which up-to-date version it is. And
I know when I got an Android one. Over Christmas, I got one, and the first thing it did was want to update to the latest version at the time.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a good device manufacturer. As soon as I logged in, it's like, do you need to update? I'm like, okay, it just updated the whole operating system.
Well, guys, can we get?
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, we're off track here on that.
Yes, I think Saffia had other items and got cut off. So.
Okay. Yes, indeed, we're getting very technical. So let's go back to the main news with Saffia. Okay, Saffia.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about that isn't Virtual Worlds related, and I have got Virtual Worlds items to come on to, she adds very quickly before this one gets hijacked, because this one probably will. There's been a campaign recently in the UK. I don't know whether we've ever talked about this on the show, but it was happening that they were updating the portraits on the back of pound notes, on the back of the currency.
Oh, the women one.
And there was going to be, they gave a list of who was going to appear on the back of the notes. Now, at the moment, there's only one woman who appears. That's the prison reformer and famous Quaker Elizabeth Fry, who appears on the back of the £50 note. And the new notes that were going to be introduced from 2014, there were going to be no women on the back of the notes at all, and all the notes were going to be men. So there was something of an outcry about this and a protest campaign to ensure that at least one woman appeared on one note. It was a campaign that was eventually successful, hooray, and they've decided that one of the most popular notes, the £10 note, is now going to have Jane Austen on the back of it, which is really great news. However, the woman who organised the campaign, a woman called Caroline Criado Perez, was no sooner successful in this than she was subjected to a very vile attack on Twitter, a vile and sustained series of rape threats, probably 1,000 tweets directed at her over a 12-hour period, threatening rape in various shapes and forms, and pretty abusive. People were appalled by this and pretty outraged from, both genders, right across the spectrum. People were appalled and tweeted in support of her. More than that, at change.org, a petition was set up that Twitter should have an abuse button that could be pressed in the cases of offensive tweets being directed against someone. Twitter's response was, well, there is a block button, so you can block posts so you don't have to see them. But that's not the point. You may be able to block them so you can't see them, but those tweets are still out there being seen by other people, and they are hate speech. They are actually, in the UK at least, I don't know about the US, to threaten someone with rape is actually a criminal offence.
Yeah, it is here too.
Yeah.
Right. So, people responded and signed the petition, and the petition, I signed it yesterday and it had been out about 10 hours and it had hit 14,000 signatures. It now has 47,000 of people asking for a button to be added to Twitter to report abuse. And I think that's a bloody good idea.
It is. I wish they had on Facebook too. Should have one. It's all the buttons I like, even if you dislike something intensely. It's. I think it is.
Conclusion to the story: the police have now made an arrest.
Oh, good.
Good.
of someone in
That's
Manchester on suspicion of harassment charges, an allegation of malicious communications.
Good for
Good.
them.
Good.
Yeah.
And she's taken screen grabs of them all, and she is reporting them merrily. She's not taken this one lying down. She's not taken this one.
No, I've been
Good.
reading that and following it. It's a sad story, really, that the ubiquitous nature of the web now and and particularly these services, the dregs of society are in with us. They never used to be, and obviously, one has to legislate in part for them. But I mean, you always have to come back to the fact that criminal offences and things like that are legislated for anyway. A lot of it is really just the mechanisms, being in place to apply the web to existing law.
Yes, exactly.
But it's
you don't need new laws for this sort of thing. The laws are there. You just need to make sure they can be put into effect.
Yeah. And I think, the thing about block buttons and things like that, I mean, I don't think that's a good argument for Twitter because it's not obvious. As you say, a button that, report abuse and stuff like that will be very obvious, hopefully red or something, in contradiction to the rest of the page design. Whereas if you really want to unfollow somebody or block somebody, you've got to go into the innards a bit. It's not something you can do as a quick stroke. So, yeah,
it's possible to have. Skype has it. You can block and abuse report someone, and it's very obvious.
But it's
Google Plus has
in
it
the real
too.
world.
I don't know. I mean, Google Plus has it. I'm not sure about Twitter. I haven't seen it on Twitter. I haven't looked into it.
That's why people are campaigning for it, because it's not there.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it should be there. I mean, I know Google Plus has it immediately. You block it and it says, would you like to report as abuse and blah, 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 and it goes down the list. I don't know about Facebook. It might be there, but buried.
Everything in Facebook is buried. I can't even...
everything's buried in Facebook.
If I want to unfollow somebody, I mean, it takes me nearly a day to find out how to do it, let alone block, and let alone actually block somebody.
It's interesting, too, because, if I can hit the block button on Google Plus, it's just right there, right up front. It's like, would you like to report them, too? It's like, no.
No, Google's so good. That's one of the reasons I like Google Plus as opposed to Facebook. So.
As much as people, rail against it, it's like, I like Google Plus, sorry. I'm like, I don't really use my Facebook as much as, people think I do. I'll go and I'll post some stuff, check my messages, and then I'll go back to Google Plus. I'm just there because I have family on there.
I know this. I see you on it all the while. Okay, Saffia, back to you because we got more Inworld news and stuff too.
More Inworld news. At the moment, there are quite a few events going on, and I thought I would actually show you some of the things. If I stand up, things that have been going on at the moment. Pet, can you cope if I stand up, or shall I just stay sitting down?
Go right ahead.
Okay, well, two things that are going on at the moment. There is a designer, Donna Flora, which was run by someone called Squinternet, I think. Lara. But she was, her store was Donna Flora. And sadly, she has been taken ill with cancer. Breast cancer, which has spread. It's a very sad story. She is in Italy and she has been having alternative treatments that have given her an extra year of life. But they have been quite expensive, while standard treatments are covered by the Italian health service. The kind of alternative therapies she's been trying, which have been working for her, have to be done privately. So she is very dependent on her second life income, and she has really been too ill to do much with her store, just keep it ticking over really, and things were in a bit of a decline, as you can imagine, without her being able to pay close attention to it. She's a very popular and much loved designer, and because of that, people have got together to make an event called Love Donna Flora, which opened yesterday. And Love Donna Flora has really great designers, great designs available. And you can go, and the booths will tell you whether they're giving 100%, 50%, 75% of what you buy there to Donna Flora. I think everything that's sold gives something to Donna Flora to support her.
That's very nice.
And this skirt that I'm wearing, this long maxi skirt, comes from one of my favourite designers, Liv Glam, who has several items out. Most of them are actually too short to be worn on the show without outraging public decency. But this rather striking black and white maxi skirt is available, and you need to wear it with a shirt, a regular shirt, which I discovered at the last minute when I put it on before coming on the show. So I quickly found a shirt that would go with it. But this, sorry, I'm now walking all over the place. This is an example of her work. I think that today is the last day of the hair fair as well.
It is the last day of the hair fair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do go. There are some fantastic hairs. I am wearing a hair here from Slink, which has become my new favourite hair. It's short, sleek, elegant, just the way I like it. But if I want to go another way, just hang on a second. And hopefully this one will res. Otherwise I'm going to be standing here looking bold.
Yeah, we seem to be resing a nice long hair. It's as long as the skirt. It's
isn't it great?
It is. It's coming in slowly for actually, as is the want here in Second Life. When you change costumes, they sometimes take a while to resolve themselves
in
front of the screen. But I love the little. I can tell from the sort of shape of it. It's got a nice little band on top as well, hasn't it?
That's right. It's got a sort of flat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, can you see it?
Yep.
Is the camera getting it now?
Camera looks good. Mm-hmm.
And this is
wonderful
actually
braids.
Yes, this is actually from Enigma. And if you want to kind of be a slightly romantic-y, elfy thingy, I would say this is the
persona.
I would say this is perfect hair for you. I shall certainly be looking it out for Fantasy Fair next year, I think.
Yeah, it's it's magnificent. It's hair that trails the floor as good as, it's wonderful.
Goes nicely with the skirt too.
Yeah, but probably not quite so nicely with sitting down. I may go back to my adorable Slink hair for sitting down. Let's try.
Yes, I think I picked up that same hair, that Slink hair, and I did admire the one you're currently wearing. Although I couldn't quite see a place where I would have a particular use for it, but
Fantasy Fair.
So all these vendors are contributing
all the vendors, are contributing to Fantasy Fair. They put on the vendor the amount of the donation. I think it can be as little as 15%. Some are giving 75% of the sales to Wigs for Kids.
Oh, okay. Actually, do you know I had something to mention, and it's the same thing. During the week, users of the Linden Lab viewer, of which I don't count myself a member, have been given a front page login that was directing them to Virtual World's best practices in education. My Firestorm viewer has been giving me a link to Wigs for Kids. And I actually, maybe it's just me, I'm sure I mentioned this to Tara, if not other people, but I was slightly disappointed because, I'm not going to go into which should have the profile or whatever, that's not the point. But the point was, it says that all the vendors are giving a minimum of 15% to Wigs for Kids. And I thought that's miserable. I've been to a few of these fairs and things, sort of raising money for charity. Usually, you can pick up stuff that's been fully donated, and all the money goes to charity. And I thought, a fundraising thing that sort of only says a minimum of 15%. It really was a bit of an insult to me. I mean, I'm sure it's a good charity, but who's managing it? If that's
varies. It varies. I think this is a perennial problem in terms of charities as to how much of the money that is donated goes to the charity. One of the things is that it is always very clear how much is going. This is good practice by fairs. They will actually put on the vendor how much of what proportion of the money will be going to the charity. So you can make your choice. You can say, well, I like that hair, but they're only giving 15%. I will go to another vendor, get a similar hair where they're giving 30% or 50%.
Yeah.
Now, quite often with the Relay for Life events, the way it works is that 2 of the items on display will be totally for Relay for Life. You will be asked when you do something like the Home and Garden Expo or Fantasy Fair or Fashion for Life, you will be asked to donate 2 items, original items not used before, completely, which will be give all their money to Relay for Life.
Right.
The rest of the items that you will see in their stores are actually on sale, and no money at all goes to Relay for Life from them.
Right.
So it's only if you buy from the special Relay vendors that the Relay will be getting, but they will be getting 100% of those. However, in the past, and I must say this didn't happen this year, I think people have learnt that if they do this, it's pretty disapproved of. But there have been events where people would put out a couple of really shoddy items in the Relay vendors, or sort of cheap also-ran things, and then have utterly gorgeous stuff all around it. So people would actually buy the gorgeous stuff and ignore the vendors. That happens far less now. At this year's Fashion for Life, for example, I picked up a couple of dresses by one of my favourite designers, and they were 2 new colour choices in a style that I adore. My sparkly dress.
Yep.
And I managed to pick up a couple of completely new colours in that range of my favourite dress by one of my favourite designers. So that was good, and that was 100%. The hair fair this year have tried to do something slightly different. They have said that everything that is sold must give some proportion to wigs for kids. So the hair designers can display 3 or 5 or 20 styles, but everything has to have some donation to wigs for kids. So there's no 100% items unless a designer wants to put that out, but everything that's on display will donate at least 15% to wigs for kids.
So I guess
it's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, so I guess the message here is if you're shopping and you're going to a charity event, just double check how much the charity's actually getting, and make your own judgment.
Yeah, yeah. And I would rather see, I think, 15% of a good quality item that lots of people are going to buy, going to wigs for kids, than see 100% of something rubbish.
True,
no one's going to buy.
Also from making the rounds, my impression was that there were very few that were that low. Most of them were at least 25%, and there were a lot that were 50% donations.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right, Saffia, that everything that was for sale was a percentage. That percentage, whatever the designer had decided on, was going to the charity. So. There wasn't anything being sold that wasn't a percentage was not going back to Wigs for Kids. So
great.
That is a gotcha with the Relay for Life stuff. Is that some of the events will have, a designer may have quite a few items out, but only 2 of them are actually supporting RFL.
I would say, though, that with the Relay for Life events, I don't think that that's kind of a measure that designers are mean. I mean, if you look at an event like Fantasy Fair, the designers would have put out like 2 items for sale, but would have been incredibly generous in other ways. They would have done bail and jail. They would have given out. They would have gone and supported other people's jails and bails. You know, they did a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
They did a huge amount. If you look at the generosity of someone like Alia Baroque, just huge support. And he's not the only one. Lots of them are.
Oh, I had the pussycat.
Yes, blackmail is starting. Yes. You want me to shut up? I get the cat treats.
So, anything else at the top of the list, Saffia? I think you're in full production mode with a few things again now, aren't you?
I am, yes. We are starting production. Well, we're starting to pull things together for the new season of The Black and Mirror, which will be out in the fall. And we've been doing some exciting stuff for that, haven't we, Pet?
Sure have.
Yes, we have. Mm-hmm. We will find out in due course. Which reminds me, you actually did a presentation, which we'll come back to in a minute, if I may, at the Virtual World's Best Practices, where you did a wonderful run-through of the creative process. But let me turn to Will for sort of a couple of things he's got on the agenda. And welcome back, Will. Let's stop talking about dresses for a short few minutes. And I noticed you've rezzed, we spoke about this, I think it was last week, wasn't it? But you have rezzed a wonderful contraption to the left of the stage here, isn't it? This is
contraption.
Well,
make it sound like a Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh, I was trying to think of that name just the other night. Rube Goldberg. Thank you.
You're welcome. Contraption. There's a mouse trap in there somewhere.
Now, this is it's part of this sort of destination teleport thing, isn't it? Maybe you'd like to just give us a quick resume on that we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't have time last week. I just went over like very quick at the end of the show, but today we get to res it. So, what is it on the stage here? Well, it's the Eureka teleport destination-y thingy.
Contraption,
yeah. Eureka is actually an incentive-based discovery engine, kind of like a destination guide search engine that finds and recommends second life locations to the users. The features allow the users to discover and rate locations in the virtual world, so that's a big plus right there. But it's personalized to their taste and interests using peer sourcing and social networking principles. So there's an algorithm on the back-end server, and you wear a HUD. And what you do is you tell it what you like. And we have a long list of stuff on the HUD where you can just check off little radio boxes and says, this is the kind of stuff I like. And then whenever you smack the jump button, it will ask the server for a location that is based on what you just said you liked. Now, the weights on it, how we're doing it right now, the weights on it are that the places with the beacons, which are those kiosks there, we're going to have 3 kiosks, a large one which is out right here, and there's going to be a medium and a small one depending on what footprint you want. And those have the highest priority because they're actually supporting the system. Then there's user submitted location. So if you're out and about, you can submit a location that's off the beaten path, and it will live or die via popularity alone. And based on how many people are, all the people that are using it, it will populate locations on or off the beaten path. And the entire point of it is, this is what I like. And we all sit around a lot of times and say, Destination Guide doesn't quite doing it for me, and I'm kind of tired of going to the same places over and over again. I want something new, but I don't want to be total random. I want to have some sort of thing that I'm interested in.
Yeah, of course.
But you can never quite think of like a new place, or you have trouble with that. So what we're doing is we're making a button. You can just smack it, and it'll tell you, "Hey, try this place," and it'll take you there.
Right.
So you can actually find new places not based on Destination Guide, but based on what everybody else is saying they like. So if
Now-
you were out and about, it'll, and you say, oh, I found this great place out in the beaten path or whatever, you can hit the submit button, and it will submit that one location where you're standing to the server, and then it will live and die based on, how many other people like it.
Yeah, exactly. It's wonderful. Now, is the system actually live at the moment? Is it?
It's not live right now. We're in testing. Earlier, I had the prototype HUD on, which is why I kind of disappeared. I smacked the button by accident, and it took me to nearest. It took me to one of the prototype kiosks, which are like way across the grid somewhere. I was like, no, go back. Like, I didn't mean to hit the button. But when it goes live, what we're going to do is we're going to roll it out in beta first, closed beta, and we're talking with Scorpionosis Nightfire to get the club connection network as part of it. So we'll have a couple hundred clubs in there at least for the early beta, and then we'll go to live beta, which is we're going to open up to the public that way, and it will be free to use. Right. And that's what I was trying to explain to Phelan on the last show, was that don't pay me money. It's going to be free to begin with. We're gonna roll it out in beta. It'll be free, and then to let everybody use it, grab the kiosk, grab their HUDs, do as they want, use it, work out all the bugs, get everything solid, and then even when it goes into pay mode, you don't have to change anything. The kiosk will actually flip over by itself, but even then it's going to be like 50. I think it's like 50 linden a month or 100 linden for a premium. That's really cheap, considering that people spend gargantuan amounts of money on advertising in here.
Yeah,
50
that's
linden
cheap.
a month for
that's cheap.
that's really cheap.
Is that 50 lindens a month for advertisers or for users?
For advertisers, for the actual whoever wants the kiosks, like the Eureka kiosk, there will be 50 or 100, and we can set it up on manual pay or auto pay. Okay. And what it's going to do is the people who have the HUD, that's free. We encourage everybody we want it to be as low cost as possible for everybody, but the people who have the actual HUDs on, free. Now the last thing about it, and this is what we're working on now, part of the system is that you can actually load your kiosks as a location owner with gifts. But the thing is you actually have to have the HUD on. You have to have arrived via the HUD, and there's a cooldown period when you jump. So there's like a certain time limit, and a little timer will go down and say, go out and explore. You said you like this place. Tell us whether you like it or not, because you have a rating on it. You can have a little rating button on your thing, but it won't let you use it until you cool down for your jump. So you can't just
jump in and like something and jump back out.
Right. You have to wait. It's to encourage exploring, looking around and saying, hey, do I really like it or not? And two, you can't collect your gift if there's a gift there until the cooldown's done.
Oh, I see. So you have to suffer the destination before you get your gift. And
I'm guessing you also have it built in so that somebody can't go like it, rate it, jump out, jump back, like it again.
Get another one.
In other words, game the system.
Well, there's a
to try to beef up some merchants' visibility.
Right. And there's yes, you can do that. No, it doesn't necessarily matter against the system, because the system isn't taking just pure ratings. It's not taking pure input from the people as the end all to be all. There's actually other weights and measures on the algorithm that counteract that. So even if you did, it wouldn't really help you much.
Well, that's good because there will be people who will try to game the system.
Oh yeah. But even then, it'll be costly after a while, because you gotta still wait the cooldown period, and it's always the same. And you gotta sit. It's not like you can just jump back and forth and hit like. No, every time you jump back in, it's gonna make you wait.
And somebody could set up a script involving half a dozen bots to.
No, it wouldn't. I mean, they could, but it wouldn't really do them any good because of the way the system is weighted on the background. I mean, it gives some power to the users, it gives some power to the venue owners to kind of control it, but not total control. At the end of the day, the automatic algorithm on the back end, it takes them all into consideration. And if we see like spikes or anything like that, it automatically adjusts for it. It would be hard pressed to get to game the system that way.
I think. I think we must arrange for you, Stress, or give us one to res here while it's in beta and see what the response is like. See how many people.
Absolutely. Oh yes, I want one.
Well, in the early beta,
I want a couple.
Well, in the early beta, when it's closed, you're not going to see a lot of people. It's going to be just the people who are testing it.
Yeah.
When it goes to open beta, you won't have to change anything. You just leave it alone. It'll just switch over from beta to open beta, and you'll see the actual texture on the HUD, not on the HUD, but on the actual kiosks.
Right.
It'll actually change on its own. So like you'll know when it's out of beta because the actual kiosk there will change to a different texture.
Right.
We actually have different phases, so you'll know when when you go from beta to normal to whatever. It'll change your kiosk.
Well, as long as it isn't 500 prims. How many prims is that, by the way?
This is weighing in at a whopping 1.
Oh! Yes.
I was just going to say, it's 1 prim.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Land impact.
Or it's a land impact of 1.
An impact of 1, so we're really conscious on that, and also we're using materials on it too. So if you have a materials viewer, this actually uses materials already.
Oh, lovely. So we get.
It just like I think it makes the E shiny or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know what he did to it.
Yeah, nice and textured.
Subtle.
Basically. Yeah.
Right. So we are looking at all of the above, but that's how it's supposed to work. As we get things rolled out, we're doing the interface now and getting that sorted out. You'll also be able to know, if a place it has 3 modes on it right now. It has normal, which is I trust this thing to just take me wherever I want, wherever it recommends, with no intermediary.
Mm.
And that's like a blind faith mode, and that's what normal mode is. It's like hitting the infinite probability drive on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy article. You just smack the button, it just takes you somewhere, and
Right.
you don't necessarily know where it's go. There's a safe mode version on the HUD, which will pop up a card under attached to the HUD, and it'll give you some information about where it's recommending before you OK it.
Mm.
So that's your safe mode, and then there's a gift hunt mode, which will only recommend locations based on what you said you liked, and also places that have gifts. So that's like an endless gift mode.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Imagine that'd be popular, wouldn't it?
Because if you got it across the grid, it'll be hard to run out of gifts if you got everybody putting gifts in there. It'll be just like, I need gifts today. Just go on, go collect stuff across the grid and explore.
That would save a lot of time, wouldn't it? Might give up hunting for that.
Oh, now, bite your tongue.
That.
Bite your tongue.
Or maybe it can link to hunts as well one day. Now, moving on, Will, you also we of course heard the other week about the thesis thing. Really, you have published, but you have some other news, don't you? You've been nominated, or
I've got news that I am. Or the project that I'm working on, I should say, is nominated for the Chicago Innovation Awards, and I have to go out there in October for that, for the up and coming technology or project or something or another. So again, this goes back to the project I'm not allowed to even talk about, and I'm like, who? I'm like, all right, fine.
you got to talk about it. So how do they know to give an award? Like this one.
Because some of them, because I wasn't the one who nominated it, and the person who did can make the decision. I, on the other hand, I'm under NDA, so I can't go into details. Right. The person who did was talking. It was one of the guys who actually is under the. I guess he's under the NDA, but actually asked permission, not from me, but the guy who runs the company, and he got permission to do the nomination and everything. So I got news from that. He's like, "Yeah, you're going to Chicago," and I'm like, "What? Okay, you're going to Chicago in October." I'm like, I'm doing what now? On the plane, you're getting on the plane, you're going to talk to these guys. I'm like, I don't want to talk. But I guess there's like, he told me like what's involved and stuff. Like if you win the award or something, you got to go talk to the mayor of Chicago and go ring in the NASDAQ, the stock exchange and all this other stuff. And I'm like, great.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So how many
that's more than 15 minutes of fame. Even sounds like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always sound underwhelmed about this stuff because I'm more just technology. Like my brain might be wired in reverse for all I know. Like Linda's all like happy for me. She's like, "Oh my god, baby!" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "I know." She's like, "Oh my god, you got?" I'm like, "I know." And she's like, "Why?" She's like, "You sound underwhelmed about it." I'm like, "I'll be happy later."
How many nominations are you up against? Or is,
I think it's like at this point, it's a shoo-in. Like I'm looking at it like as a shoo-in because I think the way Tom had said it, Tom Krasmarsky or somebody along those leagues who told us it had to happen. I think it was a lot of mobile, business as usual kind of stuff in there. in that category, and they know about what we're doing. And they said, if you put it in there, it's a shoe-in. It's just they're not even touching it. And I'm like, okay.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
my boss is like, do it.
Wish you the very best of luck with that. It's
even
the nominations and achievements are great.
I'm happy about the nomination, even if it's not an achievement. If it doesn't get, if we're a finalist and not a winner, I'm fine, man. I'll go home and be happy still.
You don't have that glory hound gene.
Yeah, and there's lots of mileage in a letterhead that says, or sort of thing that says nominated for. You don't have to worry.
Right. That can go on your resume.
Nominated or finalist and whatever. Or if I win it, it'll be just another one of those awards. I'll just throw it in there because I think I think you're right. I don't have the glory hound gene in me. I just look at it and go, okay, fair enough. Let's get back to work. It's another trophy, whatever. It's another trophy. That's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
That's actually a healthy attitude, I think, because people who get into playing to the gallery, I think that inhibits creativity and gets in the way.
Yeah, I got more in my mind. I got more important things to do, and let's get stuff actually done. And if people want to give me an award for it, it's like, okay, fair. It's like put the send the award over to the office, put it on the shelf, whatever at the office. I don't care. I want to get stuff. I'm more the kind of mindset where like I want to be like hands-on building stuff and really playing with technology and getting stuff together and making it happen. And that's what excites me. Like I see like augmented reality headsets and stuff, and I go like giddy. I like go retarded giddy. I go I giggle and stuff. I see the award. I go whatever.
Yeah, this reminds me when I used to publish things. The buzz I got was from the printing delivery, not the number of sales. The first copies off the press. You just
right. That's the
yeah, exactly. It's like, here.
The book. When I had the book in my hand, it was like I was giddy. I was like, yeah, I have the book, and they're like, you don't understand that this is being, this is like a textbook in colleges. I'm like, fair enough. I'm happy because it's in my hand. And they're like, but you're doing good for students. I'm like, whatever. I got it in my hand. I'm happy. I have the same mentality. It's like, it's like you won an award. Great. You're gonna go, talk to the mayor. Great. It's like, why are you not happy? You're gonna go open up the NASDAQ. It's a opening bell. Why are you not happy? I don't know.
Do you need somebody to film that?
I mean,
here's a headset. Yeah, I got a headset. Yeah. It's like you are easily amused, Will.
I'm sure.
Backwards.
I'm sure opening up the NASDAQ and talking to the mayor is not exactly the pinnacle of your career path. So it's incidental, isn't it? I suppose
it's fair enough. I'll go talk to him. It's like if I go talk to the mayor and open up the NASDAQ, I'll do the whatever needs to happen there. I'm not going to be all giddy about it. I'll be like, okay, fair enough. It's like they're just people. I'm not worried about it. I'm ringing a bell. It's like, but you're opening up the stock market. Blah. I'm like, whatever. It's not a big deal to me. It's like, what's a big deal is the project I'm working. That's what I'm happy about.
Yeah. Okay. Let me wind the conversation here a little bit. I'm going basically I'm going to switch over to Petlove for a while because I mentioned earlier that we were at the Virtual World's Best Practices in Education, and because we were obviously hooked on listening to all the stuff we were filming. You can't avoid it, really, can you? I know from talking to Pet during the week, we really did, encounter some amazing talks. Some of the ones we did weren't actually booked in, and we sort of just did them because we wanted to, and we got wonderful surprises. I mean, Pet, I know one of the ones that we both really liked was the ad lib one we did, which was I had gender as best brain.
Research, sustainable activities that will keep your brain healthy into advanced years, basically.
Yeah.
And wonderful ideas, fun things to do, and a brilliant woman presenting it all. Lynn Barrett.
Hey, say more. Yeah, describe what she talks about.
Well, she talked about diet. She talked about finding activities that you enjoy so that they'll be more sustainable. She described activities, both physical and intellectual, that would keep your brain sharper than if you didn't do any of this stuff. It was the type of prevention that was palatable and therefore sustainable, which was it is a brilliant idea. I mean, how many times do we start a diet or start an exercise program and we don't stick with it because it's torture? And her point was find a way, find what you like, try all different kinds of things and see what you like and then stick with it. It was great. It was a great approach. And she was very...
I was just going to say, she has a sim, basically, that we're going to be definitely going to hop and visit with all sorts of activities, be it sort of swimming and whatever. But she started her presentations very firmly embedded in the real world, telling us about the brain and the way it works and stuff. And then she moved in to the ways in which virtual worlds or virtual spaces can help with that. And she covered a lot of things, like just seeing yourself running or doing an activity resonates mentally. So you don't actually have to get out of a chair and do running for your brain to be stimulated by seeing you running, for example. And she's obviously very carefully thought out this sim. So she actually did emphasize. She emphasized challenge. She was saying, don't do the same thing again. Challenge yourself to do something difficult to keep your brain
or something that will
going.
Continue to evolve along with your activity and your interaction with it. She talked about writing poetry. She talked about a poetry maze that she had created. There is a challenge to where there are, I guess, 6 or 8 poems in this maze, or bits of the poems, and you had to go through the maze, assemble the poems as best you could, and then you submit your results, and she provided rewards, which were lindens. She cut right to the chase. It's probably only a few lindens, we don't know. But I've always said, if you want people to come, tease them with lindens. And apparently she's a great thinker because we think alike. But anyway, it sounded fascinating. And yeah, Mal, that was a great presentation.
Well, I've just noticed on my machine here that I seem to have crashed. So I'm probably in a few seconds. You're probably going to see an empty space where my avatar was. But we'll carry on talking
anyway.
Anyway.
Over here on the ladies and cats then.
Yeah, just cam on yourself. Now, another one that I actually found very interesting. Well, actually, I'll come back to it later because it's something you weren't at, but it was one with Joe Kay on Jocadia Grid. And what was fascinating, she brought a whole lot of kids in from Minecraft. And they all Australian, I hasten to add, from Tasmania, but they were so eloquent. One of them was a 9-year-old who unfortunately couldn't get his voice button half the time. But they I don't know about Australia, whether it's something about Australians, but they sounded so bright and to the point. And it actually gave me Robustus, who filmed it, of course, is a big Minecraft fan, so he loved filming that one. But it also gave me an appreciation for the sort of things that they're doing in Minecraft. Joe Kay, as well as Jocadia Grid, has a Minecraft server, and they take kids into there, and they build, like Lego style or whatever. And of course, when they came into OpenSim to do the show, the presentation, they were all equally excited about that, because they learnt in Minecraft, to work as teams and stuff. But then they came into OpenSim, whoa. It was another thing. But while I'm attempting to relog, the other thing we had, Pet, and I'll bring Saffia into this, of course, is Saffia, you did one of the presentations of Virtual World's best practices for about Black Mirror, basically. But what was quite intriguing was that you went through the whole process of production. So you were sort of telling people there just the whole way it works. So how did that go for you?
I thought it went very well. One of the things that I was really worried about, I wanted, as I talk, to demonstrate sequences of the show, so that I took people through how something would move through to script, to filming, to editing, and I wanted to actually show them how that looked. So I was rather worried how we were going to manage it, because Pet will tell you that our experience of running media in Second Life and getting everyone to watch the same media at the same time is pretty sticky, isn't it?
Quite a trick, yes, quite a trick. Yeah. Only one man has conquered that I know of, and that's Lapasian.
Yeah. Yeah, with A-View.
AVT.
But we didn't use A-View. What we used was a HUD that Xander made.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually made this amazing HUD that has all the shows of season 1 of Black Mirror on, which he was giving out at the birthday on the Black Mirror sim.
Which was created by Lopacian.
That's right.
So
yes,
that's the
and
root,
he's
yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's taken this HUD and handed it out, and it really is fantastic. So what I did, what Xander did for me, was he put the bits of the show that I needed onto a new HUD, and I handed that out to the audience. And they were all able to watch it at the same time. And the noises that came back suggested that everyone negotiated that process successfully. I made it fairly obvious. I was saying things like, put your HUD on now. Click button 1. When I say go, click the screen. Okay? So go.
Seemed to work out.
There was also a clue from Mal to put it in, to switch the cameras to look at the clip as well. That was not quite so successful, but I think we got there in the end.
We worked it out in the end in editing. We were able to edit them in and put it up on the stream that way. So, so but that was great.
Yeah, with the live stream was as cooperative on doing switches between studio and live cam.
Oh, yes.
It'd be very interesting to hear whether, because there was a very there was a little tutorial focus to that as well, bringing people through the process and everything else, and of course asking for volunteers at the end. It'd be very interesting to see if anybody in that audience or watching the replays of it actually sort of steps forward and says, I want to do something with the Black Mirror, or even something completely different, but inspired by it.
Interesting. It'd be lovely. We could do with a few interns, couldn't we, Pat?
We're looking for interns. Is this a good time to mention the camera school?
Yes, I think it's a very good time to mention the camera school.
Mm-hmm. We have plans to invite people to attend a brief, maybe a 5 or so session instructional set of classes. And once they've learned all of the ropes, we'll have lecture, we'll have homework assignments, we'll have,
practical projects,
one-on-one consultation, right? Practical projects. And then the people will have the opportunity to work on a real show, one of the treat shows, theoretically, if they'll commit 3 months. So it's not free in the sense of the time commitment, but they'll get great skills out of it. And we're hoping that they'll stick with us.
Very transferable.
Right. Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the skills will be very transferable. And at the end of the process, you will get a treat camera accreditation, which we hope will become like a benchmark that so people can say, when they volunteer to do something, well, I've got treat camera accreditation. And you will know that they will know how to use cameras, how to use live stream, how to work in a TV environment, not just make machinima. But they will have been trained in all the basics and will be able to do things. And hopefully they can then take their skills and try and earn some money, or they can go with different shows and I think
that way.
and try to earn some money that way.
Right.
I think it will be a really good thing, because the one thing that every media organisation I talk to is crying out for is technical people, camera people, editors. We all know how overworked poor Pet is.
Yeah, it's funny because by the way, I'm back in, but I don't have lip flap, and I think I'm on cloud. But
no, you're not. You're fine.
Right.
And while you're back, I have crashed. So
you're in the middle, Tara. Oh man.
I know, I'm in the wrong spot. Well, my avatar's about to disappear. So.
What were you saying now? Now that you're in a different position and I have to change the shot?
Oh, right, okay. I'm still in the middle, never mind.
Okay.
Sorry about this, folks. My lips aren't flapping, but I'm still real. I'm here. I'm talking to you from my non-lip flapping avatar. We actually do something something similar, or at least Dizo Metaverse Television does something similar every Friday. Sort of running people through filming techniques and stuff, and it's not designed to teach them to make machinima. It's designed to actually train them up to be camera people. In a production sense. Rather, the drawback to all this is you invest quite a lot of time and money in it, or energy really, and then you find at the moment they learn something, they go off and start something in direct competition to you. Which I think when people go back, you trust them to sort of show a bit of loyalty for a while, or at least help with your projects, rather than just go off and try and compete with you when they've only half learnt the story, because it is a very complex business. I mean, a lot of people, they watch this show, they watch other things, and they think, well, that's easy, we just sit there and point a camera at us and talk. But to get quality and all the background stuff is a trial. And as you showed in your talk, Saffia, you showed the scripts and the way things have to be edited, and I'm sure a lot of people, certainly there are a few educators I'll put it another way. There are a few educators who fancy themselves as machinima makers, and in fact I hosted a panel with some of them, and to be honest, they are insular. They're in their own little domain of education, and they make their machinima for that. A couple of them were really actually well produced. The others really weren't particularly.
And there's always going to be that spectrum, yeah. And in 2 years it'll be totally different, because they'll grow, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They won, whoever won the award won it on the basis of their educational endeavours using what they would consider machinima. But I think your talk will have actually educated a lot of them as to some of the complexities, and maybe sort of encourage them to be a bit more professional, shall we say, in future. So it's nice to give that to educators, and of course many of those educators are then going to be going off educating other people. So it's vitally important they learn the skills, because it happens a lot in education. If the educator themselves doesn't have the skill, they can't really
to impart it, right?
Then exactly, and one of the themes of this conference that recurred again and again, which I thought was absolutely great, was the number of teachers that said, well, a year ago, I realised I wasn't communicating to the students, and I just had to have a total rethink. And in virtual worlds, you realise it's teamwork, and you collaborate with your students, and instead of passing on knowledge, just wrote, so to speak, you engage in the creative or the learning process with the student.
And that is so important to the students. There's nothing worse than constant rote. It's horrible. The real engagement is so vital these days, particularly. I wanted to say one thing, though, Mal, about I think with the Treat Camera School, the fact that the people will go through an in-service internship. Thank you. They'll establish connections with the people that they work with during that 3 months, and I think that will help us retain at least a certain percentage of them, as opposed to them just flitting off and taking it and running. I hope.
So how did this come about? So how did Treat get? Because Treat, of course, aren't really much around anymore. Not as a broadcaster. How did they get involved in this project?
Treat would like to be around more as a broadcaster, and we think we have the potential. We've got some fantastic shows in the pipeline, which are pretty much stalled for lack of people to film them. Essentially, I mean, we've got a couple of really great shows lined up, and the creators, the team, panting at the gate, but we haven't got the cameras to be able to offer them. So we could be doing more shows, but we need the camera team. So what we want to do is train people up, and then they can basically be given their own show to go and film, which can be pretty prestigious.
Is this your production company, as it were? You're talking about, or Treat themselves?
Treat themselves. I mean, I think Angie and I are now basically running Treat Inworld. So it would be Whether I doubt whether everything would get a Prim Perfect badge on it, for example.
Yeah.
We might encourage things to come in with their own production companies and just link them with Treat. Prim Perfect badge depends how much one of the Prim Perfect team is involved, namely, usually me as exec producer.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be exec producer on everything. I would be quite happy just to be a commissioning editor and then say, fly away, little bird. go and occupy Treat airwaves.
So if you can get these crews together, we'll Treat themselves start broadcasting again with like public access instead of just behind their firewall, or will we be able to get these programs on the feeds and stuff like that?
I think from now on we'll probably always be putting shows both on Treat and out in the wild. Happy Hunting goes out on the web as well as on Treat, and
the
Black Mirror,
and also on MBTV. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's you're right. On Happy Hunting's on this channel now in the replays section. So, the mini ones are, and a couple of the full ones, I think. So, thanks to Pet, we arranged that. No, but it is, it's something we're constantly aware of is the distribution thing, because broadcasting, you just want to make it viral, get it out there where people link and download and re-embed and stuff, just to get it to the wider audience. And it's very difficult to do that when it's locked behind on the server where you can't sort of spread it. So I was just hoping that maybe Treat would be pulling it, making their playlist public, as it were, in a way that can be pulled out. But anyway, that's long term. But I was quite intrigued when you said Treat were working on these shows. I thought, lots more shows. Because we can run them here. They get traction on YouTube and they get quality on Vimeo. There's a lot of different ways of doing it, and very important to me now is being able to pull them up through the second screen phenomenon. You want to be able to just go to your TV and load those shows via your iPad or your Android and just fire them onto the big screen and watch them in.
Treat shows are all available on iTunes and always have been, so it's very easy to get hold of them. That way you can get them free. You can subscribe to any Treat show for free through iTunes.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's but you can't just go to your TV and load an app for it, or I don't know. I mean, Livestream, for example, has a separate app, so it's very easy to get get at any Livestream channel you want and follow any channel you want and get an alarm. To actually go to iTunes, you've got to launch iTunes, which is very slow and cumbersome half the time. It downloads all your app updates at the same time, and then go to subscriptions and load them. It just seems long-winded. I think the future, is going to be things more like Netflix, and even this rather. Even Sky Television have launched their Now TV, and they're selling a box for it that costs £10 this week.
Really?
You just buy it, and you still have to pay for Sky Premium channels, but you get everything else for free. Just by plugging it into your TV. And of course the menu system is driven by the TV interface, not your ability to go to iTunes or to go to a website or to use search mechanisms. And I've got apps, for example, that take my favorite subjects and they will search the web for anything on YouTube or Dailymotion or Vimeo, any public source, and they'll find what I'm looking for, but they don't have access to anything that isn't cross-domain, basically, that doesn't allow its content out easily. So it's intriguing. We must have it won't be on this program. We should probably have a sort of little TV debate on all this at some point, because there's so many ins and outs of the mechanism that the obstacles to avoid. Where with the idea of bringing all this content out to the greater web and the greater audience. Anyway, back to education. Well, back to you, Petlove, before we start. We're getting on a bit here. So, What else struck you? What else struck us, I should say?
There was a
by the way?
physics teacher. Her SL
Oh,
name has Snoodle in it. It's Professor Robinson in real life.
yeah.
Remember, she worked with a class of people with deafness, and they were at all different varying levels of ability as far as written and oral communication and so on and so forth. And she described how working with things in Second Life was such a boon to them because it was more hands-on, and they could repeat things until they actually grasped them. As an ex-teacher myself, the way she described the lessons that she's created in Second Life for these students, and the way she described using Second Life as part of her curriculum, condoned and approved of by her administrative people, I was just blown away and totally jealous. It was everything I always ever wanted to do as a special ed teacher, and she really was just wonderful. She was awesome. Blew me away.
Mm.
There were many good presentations.
That sounds fantastic. I wish I could have made more, because there sounded to be some fantastic presentations. I made a few, but
yeah.
Yeah, there's all the ones we filmed, where you can still find them on Metaverse TV Business on the autoplay. There's about 14 hours of footage there we've got. And each bar a couple that need a bit of editing. All of them are also posted on my channel at YouTube, and I gather VWBP have been twittering and retwittering them all. Today, oddly enough, they've obviously just recovered enough to actually notice them and start distributing them. So I'm actually, just a little thing is, I'm actually going to look at the views at YouTube. On these, because when I post them, I download the recordings from the channel, then I immediately re-upload them to YouTube. So turnover is about half an hour after the event's finished. But when I upload them, I sort of tag them. I mean, they've all got my standard tags, and all these have VWPB and VWPP 2013. But I've been trying to add appropriate tags on the educational front where necessary, and of course the Jocadia one, which Joe K did, which was so excellent. I also tagged with Minecraft, and Minecraft apparently has absolutely huge machinima community, and I'm going to be very curious how many hits the Minecraft one, the one tag with Minecraft, gets compared to, say, some of the others. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of monitoring of,
Sounds great. Yeah.
The interest spectrum, as it were, on the actual content there. But
yeah, Minecraft has a huge community. I play on one of the independent servers, and even those guys on that 222craft.com are like, they do their machinimas and stuff too, so it's insane. Like every once in a while I'll do a let's play on mine and I'll just show people what I'm building, but these guys, I've seen the community on that, they're just constantly there's just all sorts of stuff going on there. It's insane.
I always thought Minecraft was a shooting game.
Oh no, it's kind of like I equate Minecraft to
Lego.
Well, not Lego. I equate it to what if you added resources to Second Life and then dumbed it down to blocks. Yeah. Everything's everything's low resolution, but you have to if you want to build something in Minecraft, you have to know the recipe and you have to actually get the resources. So you got to go chop down trees to get your wood and use the wood to build fences and stuff like that. So it's actually engaging on a non-stop kind of level, but the resolution is all blocks because it's all voxels, but you can do texture packs and up the graphics level and stuff if you want. So there's ways to do it, but it's not really shooting. I mean, you have to have a sword and weapons, and you have to build your own weapons and stuff to defend against monsters at night. But that's about the gist of it.
Do you have to build the monsters?
No, the monsters just show up at night.
Okay.
I'll be a bit risque here, but we were sort of talking about this the other day, and my pal Doozer sort of talking. We sort of, or she really concluded it was a bit of a male game, and then she actually came up with the line, "Oh, hang on, there's no balls in Minecraft," which I thought was rather funny.
They don't have spheres.
The only thing that's round in Minecraft is the shadow. Is your shadow?
something I begin to appreciate about actually is scaling, scale as in building, because many years ago, one of my partners was a science fiction book cover illustrator. He's one of the first to sort of the 70s sort of style airbrush and giant spaceships and ecliptical sort of moons and stars. To watch him work was fascinating because he was literally dabbing dots onto a big canvas. And if you look at any one of his paintings carefully, all it is dots and things that he's dabbed on that canvas. But the thing is, as you move away from the canvas, you see whole floating cities in space and huge star field kind of effects. And the point there is that it's like simple pixel art, at a low resolution scale. You've just got a simple pixel, but as you move away from it and it's a big canvas, then it takes on a whole new meaning. And I've seen builds now in Minecraft that suddenly look amazing because they are made of tiny blocks, and as you scale away from them, zoom out as it were, you really appreciate the craftsmanship that's gone into it. Or with a single.
Now,
yeah.
Just a point. Unfortunately, Saffia's had to leave.
Yes, I was about to come back to it, but she's had to run. So, right, and she's off the call. So, my thanks in absenteeism to Saffia. She had to depart for another meeting. So, we have been going on a bit, haven't we? Here. So, anything else, Petlove, you can think of on the education fund there that I've forgotten? There were so many. It's just
there were so many presentations. That program was so packed. The people who organized it should just receive kudos. I mean, it was a really well done thing this year. Every year it gets better. They'll have a new build next year, right? They won't be using the steampunk one.
No, who knows what's out in store.
Right.
It'd be sad to see that go. It's a lovely build, but I heard a few people complaining, about it. As some people will complain, some people love it, but it's good to have something new.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people have sort of, what steampunk? Why is it like this? Right. So as Fallon said, they've got a new great designer in who's going to have a new one from scratch for next year. So that'd be good.
That'll be good, yeah.
People actually don't know what steampunk is?
Some people don't.
Yeah, some people don't. It's funny. It's one of these things. It's like, I don't know, cyberpunk and things. It's quite big in the real organic world, as it were, not just in virtual worlds or whatever. But it just goes under people's radar. I suppose people who have no interest in that sort of evocation of a parallel time just don't resonate with it. So they don't remember.
I think it's also kind of one of those special interest things that that if you're not around it, you wouldn't necessarily even have any reason to encounter it. It's real apparent someplace like Second Life. So anybody who's around Second Life, chances are excellent they've run into steampunk stuff at some point. But if somebody's not hanging out in virtual worlds or in Second Life in particular, I think it's only starting. I'm only starting to see it turn up in other settings.
Yeah, I think you're really right about the under the radar. Yeah,
it's actually one of the things that is really big in the what they call cosplay, which is actually organic real world. So they have these meetups and they go in costume. And steampunk is by far the biggest of the cosplay groups. They have medieval ones and stuff too, but
Comic-Con and anime and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's not just the conventions either. I mean, obviously,
they just go for the heck of it. They show up and dressed up in garb. Yeah,
they turn up at conventions dressed in steampunk costumes, but they also have, the communities have regular meetups. I don't know, they like the people meet up every month to reenact a historical battle or something like that. There's whole similar things involving steampunk cosplay, just people showing off their costumes, which is fantastical. Of course, they're not based on known history. They're somewhere between a period of history and the current world. So it's a big thing, but it's a niche thing. However big it is, it's a niche thing.
I went to an anime convention in Los Angeles 2 summers ago. A lot of people dressed up. Some were professionals and many weren't, and it was really fun. It was really interesting. It was neat. People just turn them loose. Welcome back.
Oh yeah, years ago. I was at Otakon in 2005 and 2006. I went to Otakon, and the best costume I saw there at the time was some guy who was doing Vasha Stampede from oh god, I can't remember the name of the show. It was Vasha Stampede. It's been a number of years, but that guy was like really awesome. And then I did one who did I got to see the guy who did the Iron Man cosplay. With the full suit, and he actually did such a wonderful job on it. Like the actual face mask came up and lit up, and the jets in the back were powered and everything. It was like amazing. And I was like, you did an amazing job. Like he did like the molding on it, on the actual suit. It was amazingly well done.
Nice.
Like he really sat down and figured it out. I'm like, this is some creativity that I love to see in the communities like that, because they get they settle down into it and they just rock it. Yeah, they go for broke.
I think it's almost it's almost another level of fashion as well. You go to clubs and things, and you see variations on the same micro skirts and whatever, and people are flaunting themselves, but they're actually they are really following the trend of whatever is the fashionable thing to wear at the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas with the cosplay communities, they are people who are inventing their own costumes. It's like playing dress up when you're a kid and you go into the box of old clothes and you figure out your own combination. And
that'd be cool. This kind of reminds me of it'd be cool if in sometime in the future where they had like some sort of augmented reality, if you could overlay an avatar on your body instead of because we can map your body now with the Kinect systems and stuff like that. Can you imagine walking down the road and like your avatar is overlaid on you, so it kind of like takes you out of the scene in real life but replaces your avatar? Can you imagine like what kind of fashion there would be for representation?
You mean I could look
in real
100
life
pounds
like
lighter?
You do whatever you want.
this.
Of course, the world would be filled with a lot of porn Barbies. The world would be filled with porn Barbies suddenly, but whatever.
I would absolutely love to walk down the street looking like just this or one of my other avatar costumes. It's just not possible anymore. But I mean, it would be great. Because it's the same. It's the thing we get from virtual worlds. It's expressionism and individuality. And it's much more common here, because I don't know why, but people are creative here. They choose what they wear. They don't have to worry about the cost so much and things. They are really expressive. So if you could do that in real life, there's nothing I like more than having my head turned when I'm somewhere, by somebody who's just got style or a different sense. So somebody who looks different and unique. I mean, people like that really appeal to me.
It kind of goes back to the book Snow Crash, where they have a description of one of the rappers in the Black Sun Club, and he explains like this guy has like 10-mile high hair, and it's like waving, and like all technicolor and like fiery, and it's like his name is Sushi K. I can imagine that in like real life with augmented reality. Yeah, Sushi K. It's like this dude's like super flamboyant with like huge hair flying everywhere. It's like astronomical kind of stuff going on. And I can imagine people having avatars like that in an augmented reality sense, walking around like that, because that would be awesome seeing stuff like that, or like giant pink floating squids in the sky.
Have you seen the giant holograms? Have you seen the hologram shows in Japan?
Yes, I have. I have. They have those ones with Miku, and they also have they started doing them out here with like Tupac and other artists. MTV did one a couple years back with Gorillaz. It was a full hologram show. That was pretty awesome too.
I'm dying to see one of those.
Oh yeah, Gorillaz with a Z, the band. Yeah, that's
not to be confused with Gorillas with Bananas.
Yeah, no, that was excellent. Damien Albarn, I think it was, wasn't it?
So they did a full hologram show on that too. So it's kind of getting there. But in Japan, it's really huge with the Vocaloids, the Vocaloid artists.
Yep.
Yeah, there's one.
I've seen some video of that.
We showed one probably a couple of years ago on the channel here when I first came across it. It says somebody's really big, a superstar in Japan, and she is a pure hologram.
I think it's Miku. I think it is Miku.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, just the first pioneer really of the thing.
Remember the movie Simoon? I think Al Pacino was in it, wasn't it?
Simone.
Remember he made a rock star out of her.
Yeah, and like no matter what he did, he couldn't ruin her reputation.
Right.
It was fun. I kind of imagine that happening. Like no matter what happens, he had her totally wrecked with like smoking cigarettes and just going off and like trying to destroy her reputation. It just kept getting popular. It's like wow, I can imagine that happening.
Pretty funny.
All right. Well, I think we may well have come to the end of the Inworld review for this week. We have been going on rather a while, so lots to talk about and a lot of interesting stuff from all our guests and the VWP reflections. I do laugh. The guys at the Virtual World's Best Practices in Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference. They stumble over it just as much as we do.
Yeah.
Everyone
shorten it down to VP.
Yeah, VP.
I was calling it VP.
Yeah, VP or VP or something. But anyways, VWBPE.
Best practices. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it will be back with us next year, probably even better, bigger and better still. So we're on that. So I'll just hand over to Tara. Have you got any final roundup remarks, Tara?
Not that I can think of. Everybody enjoy your summer. Get outside if you haven't. Don't get outside if you have.
We will
catch the tag end of Hair Fair today.
Indeed, last day.
Chance.
Sunlight is your friend. Remember, sunlight's your friend.
Well, we're slightly less muggy here today, but we've had that two weeks of mugginess here, and it's sort of it's nice to have a bit of fresh air coming in through the window when I open it again and I'm off air. Yes, indeed, and well, hopefully we'll find a lot going on in the next few weeks. It is, of course, the peak of the holiday season, at least in the northern hemisphere. Sometimes people forget there's a southern one. It's very easy to do when you're in the north. You forget the south, and vice versa, presumably. But yes, it means that hopefully we'll have a bit of relief from all these marathon things that have been happening recently. But they'll all be stirring again come September, when, of course, the Open Sim Virtual Worlds conference happens. I'm informed. I'm pretty certain that we'll be joined on next week's show by both Fleep Took, who's she founded Chilbo here in Second Life, but she has Fleep Grid on the Open Sim, and she's one of the organisers at Avicon. She'll probably be bringing Joyce Betancourt with her.
Oh, good.
And we will also be joined next week, if all goes well, by another old friend of the channel, Debs Regent from Virtual London. So, and who knows? Maybe Will Burns will turn up. Maybe Petlove. Well, Petlove Beth turn up.
Wherever Petlove goes.
On camera,
there you go.
Not the couch. So, thanks very much, Will, for being here today.
Oh, it's a pleasure, as always.
And thanks ever so much, Petlove, for long and enduring service and actually sitting on the couch with us today.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
And thanks, as always, to Tara here next to me. I'm going to call it a wrap, and we're going to go out and we're going to play some stuff on the channel for about 90 minutes or so, just to fill your time. Now, we saw a lot of the arts clips at the beginning while we were delayed coming on. I'm going to start off the play after the channel here. I've got a nice 17-minute concert of Torben Asp at Music Island, which has got a nice sort of particle shows and stuff going with it. And we actually have another particle show machinima to show you. It's going to be a particle mood, I think, for a while. And we've got a 7-minute clip from Second Front, who are what is major sort of art for art's sake, I think is best. Well, capital A art people in Second Life. I know a few of them. They're really nice people, even though the art itself is often less easily decipherable. Put it that way. And various things. You'll see them as they come on. And I'm going to wrap up the show with a clip that was actually too long to run on the beginning segment of this show, but it's the sort of clip that normally fits in the beginning segment. It's actually 25 minutes or so, and it's having a look at the virtual world Onverse. Onverse, you don't hear about that much, but it has been going a good few years, and it sort of shows the current state of affairs with Onverse, which is a totally independent platform. It's not a game; it is a virtual world by its own definition, and it's you will see it if you hang on in here and watch the rest of the week in review. But as far as the Inworld review is concerned, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the discussion, and we will see you again next week. And I've clued the wrong clip, haven't I? Right, okay. Just hang on, folks, and I'm going to cue another clip, and then we'll... this is what happens when you run all the clips beforehand that you meant to run later. Right, here we go. I'm going to cue a clip now. So, what's live stream up to?
Usual
Well, yeah, we are we off air? No, we're still on air, although we're recording. Its live stream is doing a little bit of a funny thing on me. It doesn't want to queue. Okay, I'm going to have to refresh the channel. Oh, unless it's... You cut out, Petlove, and...
Go ahead and cut.
Yeah, sure.